If there's anyone in this world that knows about winning in the NBA, it's legendary coach Phil Jackson, who as a coach won 11 rings, and as a player even won 2 back in the early 70s. This means that besides Celtics legend Red Auerbach, who won a number of rings after coaching as an executive, Phil is the man with the most rings earned in the NBA. Phil Jackson also had the utmost respect from MJ as well as Kobe Bryant, two players who aren't exactly known for respecting anybody in the NBA, with Kobe even going as far to say that Phil Jackson changed his career. Phil obviously knows what it takes to win at the top level with the amount of rings he's earned. And luckily for us, in the past, Phil has spoken about the signature sign of a team that's capable of winning it all, to help us regular people see who's really got it in them. And since it's getting to that point in the season, we figured this would be a good time to see who the likely title contenders are based on Phil's method. But what is this method, you ask? You see, Phil in the past has talked about how the true sign of a title contender is getting to 40 wins in the regular season before 20 losses. This may seem a bit random and seems like a textbook old head take, but listen to this. If we go all the way back to the NBA-ABA merger in 1976, 85% of NBA champions have hit this milestone during the regular season, or 40 out of 47. Surprisingly, the last champions to have not hit this milestone were actually Giannis's Bucks in 2021, due to a mix of new acquisition Jrue Holiday finding his ground with the team and the season being a wonky one affected by COVID. But to find one before that, we have to go all the way back to the 06 title won by D Wade and Shaq on the Miami Heat, which after a mid-season coaching change that put Pat Riley in the head coach's seat, as well as Shaq having to play his way into game shape after filming so much reality TV in the offseason, finished that season strong with a chip. And besides the Pistons winning the title in 04, where a deadline trade for Rasheed Wallace completely transformed the team, you have to go back even further to Hakeem Olajuwon's 1995 Rockets. This team really is the true outlier, as besides a mid-season trade for an aging Clyde the Glide, there were no outstanding reasons why this team should have won the chip, besides the man himself, Hakeem Olajuwon, who went berserk in the playoffs that year, averaging 33 points, 3 blocks, 10 rebounds, and even topped it off with 4.5 assists per game. The 3 remaining examples all happened in the years following the NBA-ABA merger, where the flood of new good players within the NBA was a huge league shaker, and these years are a bit too turbulent to truly count. So in reality, there are only 4 teams that have been able to break this rule under normal circumstances, and every single one of these teams besides one made a big mid-season change. Coaching swap for the Heat, Pistons trade for Rasheed Wallace, and the Rockets trade for Clyde the Glide. The team that never had a large mid-season change was in fact Giannis's 2021 Bucks. However, as previously mentioned, it was a wonky season, and Jrue Holiday had to warm up to the team. This essentially means that you can narrow down the number of teams to a small handful of contenders every year once this 40/20 milestone is reached. But as we all know, numbers aren't absolute, and things can happen to turn teams around mid-season, such as trades leading to the title runs of the rule breakers of the near and far past. And since the trade deadline is slowly approaching, as well as that point in the season where teams are about to hit that 40-win mark, we figured we would take you through the title contenders of this year just based on the numbers, and also a number of teams which could fall under the exceptions and win it all despite not hitting the milestone, like a number of teams before them.
With history supporting Phil's claims of 40 wins before 20 losses equaling an elite qualifying team, it's only natural to want to look ahead to this season to determine which teams would fit that mold. And for most fans, the first team that would come to mind would be the favorites for this year's NBA championship, the Boston Celtics, who've been on a roll, with Jason Tatum quickly becoming a part of conversations around the top 5 players in the league, as he's been a dominant offensive presence, while hopefully leading this team to another finals run. The only difference this year is the consistent play so far, as by this same time last year, the team was barely staying above 500, before going on a 9-game winning streak that would end on their 60th game, leaving them with a record of 34-26, which of course puts them way behind pace for that elite status. But Jaylen Brown did miss a lot of games at the start of last season, and the team has made a lot of moves since then, like the addition of Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, and Gallinari, who's yet to suit up this year, but is slated for a late season return. And with a league-leading record and having few and far challenges between now and Game 60, this team should breeze to that elite status, and barring any injuries, may have a better outcome in the finals than the one last season. The other 2 teams that have high potential of reaching that 40 wins before 20 losses benchmark would be both of the teams at the top of the West, the Grizzlies, and the Nuggets. Starting with the Grizzlies, who are continuing their dominance they found last year, which has been able to keep them near the top of the Western Conference all season. And now with the return of Desmond Bane and the team looking healthy, the standard they've been able to set this season should only continue to rise, with the toughest challenge in their conference coming from the final team expected to reach Phil's benchmark this year, the Nuggets, who are also finally back to full strength as Jamal Murray and MPJ have both returned to the lineup this season. And with Nikola Jokic looking damn near unstoppable again, being only 0.2 dimes off of averaging a triple-double. But considering we're only halfway through the season, and Jokic already has 13 triple-doubles, putting him on pace to have a total of 24 this season, it's only a matter of time before that assist average is bumped up by that point too. And when looking at some advanced stats and comparing Jokic to the league, you get a better picture of how truly insane of a season he's been having this year. As for a lot of these categories, Jokic is often miles beyond the rest of the league, with the exception of Luka Doncic here and there, with one of his most impressive being his near 70% true shooting, which is the highest this year for players averaging 20 or more, while also having Rudy Gobert and Nick Claxton as the only players having a higher true shooting percentage while averaging more than 5 shot attempts per game. And it's clear to anyone who's watched a single game from any of these teams that neither of those players comes close to the impact that Jokic brings to the court on a nightly basis. With the Celtics, Grizzlies, and Nuggets looking like the most likely teams to pass Phil's threshold, there are certainly some teams that have the capability of going the distance without being an elite team, by Phil's definition, with the most notable being the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a very similar core who was able to reach and win the NBA championship only 2 seasons ago, while being 3 games shy of 40 wins and 20 losses. And it's also important to note that the Bucks have really been struggling with injuries this year between Giannis, Middleton, and Jrue Holiday, which is a very similar mirror to their 2021 championship season. But now with the Bucks trading for and finally having a healthy Joe Ingles, who seemed to be a quick fit with Giannis, as they've been running a pretty solid 2-man game since Ingles has joined the team. And also with all of the crazy stats we've seen from the league's best this season, like Jokic's previously mentioned dominance, or Luka's 60-20-10 game against the Knicks, these are all things Giannis has been paying attention to and most likely uses as fuel. As immediately following Luka's masterpiece, Giannis went on a tear, getting 45, 22, and 7 the next night, then proceeding to go on for the next 3 games, going 43, 20, and 5, then the next game following that up with a monster 55, 10, and 7, and capping it all off with a 30, 21, 10 triple-double. So despite all of the attention being on other teams and players, definitely keep an eye on Giannis and the Bucks. We've mentioned teams who've expected to be one of those elite teams and managed to live up to those expectations, and teams who fall short of 40 and 20 but still end up finding success. But there are still other teams who on paper seem like unbeatable powerhouses and continuously get ranked way above their eventual performance, with the first teams coming to mind most likely being the Brooklyn Nets and LA Clippers. It does seem as though the Nets are looking a lot more promising this season, but there's a good chance all of this success will go straight out the window come playoff time, especially when it comes to the track record the Nets have had in the playoffs since the KD-Kyrie era. With the team getting swept in round 1 Kyrie's first year there, then getting a little more help the next season with KD and a hobbled Harden battling through 7 games with the Bucks while Kyrie was out with an injury, then proceeding to go on last year getting swept in the first round again. But hey, at least they were able to swap out the hobbled Harden for a known playoff demon who definitely won't have a mental breakdown over a layup. So it should be quite the postseason should they make it. Now on to the Clippers, who have consistently been considered favorites ever since Kawhi and PG joined the team, and despite reworking and making trades to form a solid roster around the two, the most they have to show for it is a Western Conference loss 2 seasons ago, while overpaying 2 All-Stars to sit in their street clothes. And considering they had to give up SGA to get the deal done, who's continuously been improving on his game since leaving the Clippers, it's gotta sting that much more, as SGA currently has more points by himself than Kawhi and PG have had combined since the trade. So it goes to show you that you can think you have the perfect team figured out on paper that passes all the advanced analytics, but you still gotta go out at the end of the day and prove your greatness. If you stay to the end, give the video a like, subscribe to support the channel, and we'll see you on the next upload.